So, what is Git? Think of Git as a time machine for your code. Every time you save changes, Git records a snapshot. That means if something breaks, you can jump back in time to a safe version. So part 2. Installing Git and Configure. First, make sure Git is installed. If you're using Mac, Git usually comes pre-installed. To check, open your terminal in VS Code and type git /version. So let's type that here. As you can see, this is the version of Git I have. Maybe your version might be different, but this is how it is on Mac. However, if you're using Windows, Git does not come pre-installed. So let's go on Google and type Git. Okay guys, so let's download Git for Windows. So let's type in Google, let's search for Git. Let's go on the website and let's click download for Windows. And let's click here to download. And so let's install the file. So click on the install Git file, press yes. And now it's loaded, so press next. Program files, yes, next, next. Let's next. So we want to use Git with a Visual Studio Code as Git's default editor. So use Visual Studio Code as Git's default editor. So once you select that, press next. Good. Now here, we could choose two options here. Git uses its default branch name, currently master. You can let Git decide, or we can override. Here we could choose our own name as the default repository. So let's choose override. Let's press next. Okay, so let's use the recommended settings here. Git from command line and also from third-party software, which means that you could use Git in your command prompt, or you could use it in third-party software like VS Code, etc. So let's leave the recommended settings. Let's next. Okay, so now we have to choose between use bundled open SSH or external. So let's choose open. Use the native Windows Secure Channel Library. Let's next. Let's keep the default options. Check out Windows style, commit Unix style line endings. Let's leave the default option. Press next. And use min_tty. Next. Fast forward or merge. Next. Git credential manager. Next. Enable file system caching. And now we're installing. Okay, so now we're on to part 3. Let's create a local project folder. New folder, I'm gonna call this working directory. Good. Now that we create a working folder, if you have your own already, that can work too. Now let's open up VS Code and load our working directory. Okay, so now that we have our working directory, let's create some files. Let's call this new file index.html, right? Let's click some boilerplate code. Let's just say this is H1. Hello, everyone. Right? And let's create a text, txt, a text file. Let's write some random words here. So let's just say, hello, everyone. I am from Mars. Let's work with this. Right? Good. Let's say these are our project files. Now, let's go to the terminal and initialize Git. So, new terminal. And to initialize Git, we use git init. Good. So now Git is initialized in our working directory. Once this is done, a hidden folder is created in your working directory called .git. This is where Git stores your history. So now that we're in our working directory, this folder here is the .git folder that was created when we initialized Git. So it's a hidden folder, so you have to show your hidden files in order to see this folder. Good. So let's go back to our terminal. After you have initialized Git, we will now move to the staging area. To check to see if any files are in the staging area, we type git status. So let's clear this out first. before we type that. So clear git status. Okay, so you see no commits yet on track files. These files that are in red, index.html, text.txt, it means that they are not currently in the staging area. So that's why they said they're on track files. So the staging area is the intermediate place of storage for all your files in the working directory before they are committed. Imagine it like this. Imagine a farm that has a ranch and a farmhouse. Let's use the farm as the working directory and the ranch as the staging area. The farmer takes the cows from the farmhouse, which is your working directory, and places them into the ranch, which is a staging area. This is the place the cows would be staying before going off to a client or a butcher or being committed. That's how the staging area is. It's an intermediate place before you commit the files. So to add files to the staging area, we use git add and file name. So in this case, index.html. Let's press enter. So let's check the staging area again. Git status. Here we go. So the file in green, new file index.html, that is the file that we just added to the staging area. However, the text.txt file is still on track. Basically, it's still in the farmhouse, while the index.html is currently in the ranch, waiting to be taken out. So another way to add files to the staging area, instead of doing it one by one, we can do everything in one. So basically send all your files to the staging area instead of typing each one separately. So that way you just say git add and then you do period. This adds all the files in your working directory to the staging area, so you don't have to do them one by one. So let's check our git status again. You see, now all the files are currently in the staging area. Now let's commit these files that are in the staging area. Think of it like the butcher coming to collect the cows and putting them in a time machine. To commit these files, we type git commit m first commit. Or you could say, my first working project. Whatever you want to put within the double quotes to make you remember your first git commit, you can do that. So let's go. Git commit -m first commit. You could even say first project, first, anything that comes to your mind, but I'll use first commit. Good. So now we committed our 2 files. You can see it says here, 2 files change, 12 insertions, create mode, index.html, text.txt. So let's clear this out now. Once you have done this step, now our files are saved in the time machine. You can see the committed files using git log. So git log is git-log, git log. This will show you a list of all the committed files you have. Okay, now that we have committed our files, let's test this time machine. Let's make some changes to one of our files. And let's say you didn't like this and you want to use back what you had. You can go back to the previous version using git checkout file name. So here we go. Let's change what we have here. So it says, hello, I'm from Mars. Okay, let's change it to say, hello, everyone, I am from Earth and I like to eat sandwich. Good. So let's say you made a mistake here. You did not like what you typed here. You want to go back to your previous version. You already saved this file, so there's no duplicate or anything for this file. So in order to go back to our previous information, we can use something called git checkout. So you say git checkout and the file name, which is text.txt. And here we go. We just got back our previous information that we had first, just by using git checkout txt. So this is how this works. Anytime you make a mistake and you don't like how the code is going and you have a whole bunch of errors and you just want to cancel everything, this is what you have to do. Git checkout and you go all the way back to your previous version. So using Git is such an amazing tool to have as a web developer or a programmer. The next time, we'll be going to look at how to commit these files to a remote repository on the web instead of keeping it locally on our system. So thank you guys and see you next time. Peace.